Hello, very good evening. I hope you can all hear and see me. And we are waiting for just a minute so that rest of the logistics are in place. And I know that we are ready to go ahead. Ravi, are you there online? Ravi from Edis team. Ravi, you've been made the co-host.
Yes, Vasu, I'm there.
All right, wonderful. Devang, are you there online?
Yes, Vasu, I'm here.
Wonderful. All right. So if you can kindly switch on your camera and we'll start off. From what I understand from Ravi is that this is going to be a live session where they're going to be students online. And there's also going to be a recording of this, which will trim it and make it optimal for reviewing this once it goes onto YouTube. So the purpose of today's session is as concrete as we thought all of us would be, that it's going to be on dynamic programming. I'll very quickly take just about 2 minutes and hand it over to the master trainer, the master magician, as we call him, Devang Sharma, and he'll show you the magic of what dynamic programming is, and he'll take it forward. Just as from a context setting standpoint, my name is Vasu. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Edist. And we are all about you and your careers. So all those people who are on the session today, welcome. And in case you're somebody who's watching the recording, we wish you that you're going to be an engaged learner on the Edis platform. And we are somebody who would be your learning buddy to help you crack top-tier companies. So the topic for today is the most asked and the most requested topic, dynamic programming, or DP as it's popularly known as. If you are somebody who's aspiring to get into these top-tier companies, whether they're product companies or they're companies who are services companies, but they expect you to have higher degree of understanding of programming at higher salaries, this is something of a very, very important nature, that you know what dynamic programming is. So you just cannot be familiar with dynamic programming. You need to master this, because to get into these top tier companies, this is something which is almost a fundamental thing which you need to know. And this is how you will, how the companies and the interviewer will know that you are somebody who's the right fit for these companies. So today, as I said, we have our master trainer, Devang Sharma, who's a seasoned software professional. He works for Cisco. And apart from being a seasoned software professional, he continues to participate in national and international level coding competitions. And he has a very, very interesting and a rare distinction of having cracked more than 30 company interviews at top tier companies, if I can say so. So it's very important for you to understand and take this session very seriously, because Devang Sharma not only brings in the conceptual knowledge of what dynamic programming is, but also having practiced and participated in a lot of international competitions and having been through a lot of coding rounds and technical rounds in interviews at these top tier companies, he can exactly tell you what this dynamic programming is. Two, why do product companies ask these dynamic programming questions or DP questions in technical rounds, coding rounds, and interview rounds? Why is it so popular? Three, he will tell you a step-by-step approach to solve any dynamic programming problems that you might encounter as you jumpstart your career. Some of the do's and don'ts in dynamic programming. So while this is all going to be a lot of talk and discussions and concept sharing, what's the most interesting part of today's session is that he's going to actually solve a couple of questions hands-on, which are DP questions, so that what all he has told you about this dynamic programming, the concepts, you will see him practically use them and solve these questions. So this is very, very important for you to take this seriously, because you're all aspiring to get into top tier companies. So with that, Devang, all over to you.
Thanks, Vasu. Thanks for the wonderful introduction that you have given. And I'm pretty much amused to see the lot of people that we have joined here. We have more than 120 students for the dynamic programming. And that's what I'm excited to see. Either a lot of people wants to know about it, or they even know they want to solve questions about it. So I'll come to that. Before moving that, as Vasu has already introduced me, I just we keep it very short so then we can move to the start of the class. And then we'll take it over the complete class. Now the complete class will be going for the dynamic programming. So I'll keep my intro very short. As I introduced me, I'm working as a software development engineer at Cisco. I'm working as a full stack developer, mostly backend for backend heavy languages, and working on cloud and native security platforms. I'm part of the security business group, and as Vasu has rightly mentioned, I have got 30 offers, 27 from India and 3 from outside India, including Singapore and US. That's pretty much about me and about the competitive programming competitions, some of the most prestigious competitions that you might know of, like Google Code Jam, Facebook Hacker Cup, Google Kickstart, and recently with the Top Quarter Open. So I made it to the regionals and now I'll be qualifying for the World Finals, which will be happening in November. Hopefully it will be in Dublin. Let's hope it will not be virtual, so I'll be flying to Dublin and representing India there. That's some of the prestigious competitions I have been part of because honestly I love competitive programming. It's like a sport to me, and I'm pretty much sure that's what your problem solving skills becomes at the next level when you get a competitive program. Yeah, that's a brief intro about me, and I'd like to keep it very short. Apart from my mentoring experience, I have been mentoring here at Redis for almost 5 months now, and more than 7 batches I have taught for. And the students that we have taught for come from tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 colleges as well. And they've cracked off campus opportunities like from ServiceNow, which includes 24 LPA, to JP Morgan Chase, to name a few, Amazon, Flipkart, Swiggy. These are to some of the name of the few which are like top tier 1 product based companies. Pretty much sure these interview experiences are available on Redis YouTube channel as well. And the same video will be uploaded there as well. So you can watch out there as well if you want to know what was their interview experience or how did we perform as a mentor. Anik and I were basically teaching your DSALK. That's pretty much about it. Basu, if you have anything else to complete, or else I will start with the session.
Yes, all I would like to share is that thank you so much, and it's such a privilege to have you on board as one of the mentors. And also, it's very important that what EDIS does is we bring people who have relevant experience, and Devang, our master trainer, is somebody who's been through this whole journey of dynamic programming or advanced algorithms and data structures, as we call it, got into software company, works as a working professional. His full-time job is building enterprise solutions and products, and his passion is training. So it's very important for you to learn from the people who've been there and done that. And at the end of the session, you will be asking yourselves, what do I do next? And the simplest answer I can tell you is that we're going to start a new batch in the month of October. Please go to www.edis.com and do check up and go sign up for that course. So what this course is predominantly about is the entire advanced algorithms and data structures from the very beginning to the advanced concepts. And what you want to learn in that is what kind of questions, what kind of concepts do you need to be aware, and a lot of hands-on practice. And the most important thing is while you're practicing online, you would always ask a question, what do I do if I get stuck? And that's what we have beautifully done in EDIS. We make sure that when you are stuck online from 9 a.m. in the morning to 9 p.m. in the night, there is always going to be some mentor available for you. A dedicated mentor who will help this batch with any of the clarifications that you need if you get stuck. So please, as soon as you finish this session, go and check up at edis.com for the advanced algorithm data structures batch, which is going to start in the first week of October. And the most important thing which I want to leave you with is that what you're going to experience is what I will call is the trailer. That's the most important thing for you to understand and appreciate what dynamic programming is. But in the entire program, we're going to cover the entire advanced algorithm data structures, one of which, or one of the most important topics, is going to be dynamic programming. With that, over to you, Devang.
Sure. Thanks all. Hey guys, welcome back to me, and here we start the session, here we start the class. Just one thing I want to make very clear. This is not like a typical college lecture. We'll be teaching you something, we'll be making notes, or you'll be going home. Some of you will be taking screenshots and all, and then trying to revise. No. This is going to be a very, very interactive session because at every step, whatever I'll teach, I will be asking questions and expect all of you to answer. So in case if I want me to make it very successful, and I believe this session will be very successful, I want your 100% support. I have opened the chat session. Everybody just type me a hi if you're able to hear me. Let's start the class. Make it very interactive as everybody. I want everybody of you to type hi. Okay, cool. That's good. That's good, guys. We have around 140 people and I'm getting a response of, okay, more than 80, 90. Cool. I'm getting a cool response. It's a very positive audience. Okay, cool. Good evening all. Good evening, Bhavna. Good evening, Tejashree. Good evening all. Okay. Quickly tell me, I just wanted to know just for the diversity, which part of India, I'm pretty much sure some people might be India, some might be outside. Just type the state name where are you joining from. Everybody, just type the state name where are you joining from. UP, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, AP, Karnataka, Telangana, AP, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Bihar. Okay. Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu. Okay. Telangana, Andhra Pradesh. Cool. So we have the complete diversity of people joining from the North India. We have people joining from the South India, from West India, and East India as well. Arunachal Pradesh also I see. All India is here. Cool. There's diversity I love. Cool guys, cool. A lot of people are joining from different parts of the India, and I believe that's what it is about. Cool guys. This was just like an icebreaker session, so you guys can get comfortable with Mars. Okay, there are people joining from Mars and America too. That's good. There should be some fun as well. So this is what I actually wanted to know because this was like an icebreaker session, so we can get comfortable with each other. And the more comfortable you are, the more comfortable you'll be able to ask questions. One more thing, guys. Feel free to ask me any questions at any point in time. I will be answering it. And when I will be asking you questions, I expect you will all will be answering. Not like 30 people, 40%, 50% answering. I want all 150 of you. Okay, number is reached to 150 now. 150 of you will be answering it. Okay. Give me a ready if everybody ready. So I will start sharing screen. We'll move to the coding part. Give me a ready if everybody ready. Cool. Oh yes, I'll just start sharing my screen. And here we go for the session. This is going to be the Sublime text. Cool guys, I'll just set up my windows and the setup. Sounds good. Okay, let's start with very basic questions. In which language will you explain? That's the thing I was coming to that. Guys, don't focus on language. And by the way, I'll be teaching you on the language, C++, Python, Java. Whatever language you want, even if you want Golang, I can teach you that as well. But this specific topic is not about a particular language. Dynamic programming is not about a particular language. This is an algorithm. Any language you want, I can teach you. That's fine. But the main focus of this is the topic is new approach to dynamic programming. It is not about solving DP in Java, solving DP in C++, solving DP in Python. No, guys, that's not the topic for today's session. The topic is new approach to dynamic programming. Whenever you get a dynamic programming question, how do you decode it? That this is a DP question, and then how you go about solving it. It's nothing related to the programming language, guys. I'm repeating again. It's about the concept. If you're able to correct the concept, any code language you prefer, any language you prefer, as long as you're writing a production ready code, which is clean, which is modular, which is extensible, it is acceptable in the interview. Any product based companies. Okay. Don't worry about the languages. We are language agnostic. I believe most of the product companies are like language agnostic. They don't prefer like any specific language to be solved. Any language you feel comfortable in, try to code as long as the code is clean and modular. Okay, cool. Let's start with it. And to start with, I just want one question from all of you guys, and I want you to answer honestly. Okay, this topic, this is called as a very, very important topic, or this is what people are usually afraid of one of the most important topics, dynamic programming, which in short we call it DP, right? I want all of you to rate yourself from 1 to 10. 1 being the minimum, 10 being the maximum. I want everybody of you to rate yourself in DP and honestly rate yourself. 1 being the minimum, 10 being the maximum. Guys, minimum is 1, not 0. Okay, 10, 5, 3, 4, 3, 2, 5, 1, minus 1. Okay, guys, don't cross the constraints. Constraints are 1 to 10. 1, 2, 2, 10. Okay, we have people who are saying they are 10. Okay, 2, 2, 1, 5. Cool, guys. 3, 4, 10. Okay. I've got a very fair idea of the diversity I'm dealing with here. So if I talk about the average or the median average that I'm getting here, it is between 2 to 4. That's what I've got from the responses. Some people are more than that. Some people are less than that. That's fine. Okay. The median average is 2 to 4. Let's set a target. We have a very limited time, close to like 90 minutes from now. We will not extend it more. We'll just like finish it in the 90 minutes. Let's set a target. The target is at the end of this class, I will take this number to 8 to 9. I'm not saying I will take to complete 10 by 10 because that will come with the no number of questions you will practice. Let's be very honest. Within 1 hour or within a day, you cannot master DP. You have to solve variety of questions to get 10 by 10. But from my expertise or from my methodology of teaching, I'm pretty much confident I will be able to take you to 8 to 9. Let's see how good I will be able as an instructor so that we will go for it. Okay. Another quick question. Another quick question. Topic of recursion. Can you please rate yourself out of 1 to 10? I think there are most of you will be reaching for at least 8 or 9 or something I expect. 5, 7 4 6 8 7 4 6 7 6 7 8 1 5 6 7 7 5. Function in function. Okay, I just rate yourself, then we'll go to about recursion and all. 7 8 7 8 4 4 6 5. Cool. I got a median value, so median value is between like 6 to 7. Most of you again. So recursion you guys are more confident with, and dynamic programming you guys are less confident. This is what I'm getting. Let me tell you guys, whenever you say I'm good with recursion and I'm bad with DP, it's a very conflicting statement, to be honest. If you're good with recursion, you should never be bad with DP. So it means something problem is in recursion. You're never bad with DP, you're bad with recursion, or you're not able to understand the concept of recursion. Cool. Anyhow, that's pretty much, guys. That's the number I needed to start the session, and I think I can start the session now. Cool. Enough of the number. We have set the target at the end of a class. Do remind me, I will ask this question again and we'll verify how much we are able to get our target successful. At the end of this class, when we cover the theory, we cover the question, we are going to solve a question on the ADIS platform, and we are going to make sure that we are so much competent that we are able to attempt any DP question in the world. Sounds good? Give me a yes, give me a thumbs up so we can start the session. Give me a thumbs up, we'll go with the coding part or the starting the session. Cool, guys. Cool. One thing just to be master at for any DS algo. Cool, guys. We have started now. For any data structure or for any algorithm, if you want to become a master in it, you just need to know 3 questions about it. Very simple, very straightforward. I will not make anything complex. If you master any data structure, any algorithm, just know 3 questions about it. What are the 3 questions? What, why, and how? That's it. Pretty simple. Looks like English words, right? What, why, and how? Let me explain. What means, what is the need of the data structure, or what problem does it solve? Problem does it solve? Why means the real life applications, and how part means the coding or the implementation. I'm repeating again, please listen to it very closely. It is not limited to any DP, it's any generic data structure, trees, graphs, queues, priority queues, Fibonacci heap, any data structure, segment trees, family trees, anything, or any algorithm, DP, greedy, anything that you want to go for. It's true for all of them. Just know the answer to 3 questions. If you are clear with the answer to these 3 questions, you can solve any question related to the DS and algo. Okay, let's start one by one. First question is, what is the need of the data structure, or what is the need of that algorithm? What problem it solves? Understand one thing, guys. Whenever there is a new data structure in the market, it means the existing data structures were not able to solve a problem. I'm repeating. Whenever a new data structure or whenever a new algorithm is introduced in the market, the simple reason is the existing data structure or the existing algos were not able to solve a problem. Think it like this way. If you're buying a new thing, why you're buying a new thing? Because the thing you already have, they are not able to solve some purpose. That's why you buy a new thing, you go to the market, you buy a new thing, right? This is the exact thing. If the existing data structure are not able to solve that problem, that is why we define a new data structure and we learn about it, we code it. Is that logic clear to everybody? Give me a yes or a no. Is that logic clear to everybody? Give me a yes or a no. Okay. Anything new comes in the market, it's because the existing data structure or the existing algos are not able to solve that problem. That is why we defined a new DS or a new algo. Simple, very simple. Okay, cool. Let's go to the next part. Whenever it gets complicated, guys, feel free to stop me. I will make it even simpler whenever you want me. Okay, second part, first part is done. Second part, why? Why means the applications of it or real life applications of it. Understand one thing, guys. In product based companies, usually we are not just focused on the theoretical part. Like nobody is going to directly ask you, okay, write me the code for BFS of a graph or write me the code for DFS of a graph. No, you will never find questions like this. Why? Because that will become a theoretical question, right? What we are looking for, this practical implementation. The question you will find is related to that. The question will be same, BFS of a graph or DFS of a graph or maybe a topological sort, but it will be asked in an application way. Okay, so you should know the real life applications of that algorithm or that data structure. So when we ask the question like this, you are able to solve it. Okay, Let me give a very simple example that has been asked in one of the most prestigious product-based companies in the SD1 role for the off-campus. Let me ask you, let's see how many of you are able to solve. Quickly tell me one thing. In your college campus, how many buildings are there? Just a number, any of you. In your college campus, how many buildings are there? 6, 4, 2, 7, 4, 5, 6, 3, 5. Okay. 9, 10, maybe more, 5, 3, only one. Okay, fine. 5, 3, 16. Oh, 16 is a very big campus then. 4, 3, 7, 7. Okay, cool. The ultimate idea is in a campus, maybe college campus or university campus, whatever you want to call it, there are many buildings, right? It can be depending upon CSE block, IT block, blah, blah, blah. It can be a lot of factors, correct? Everybody agrees there are multiple buildings in one college campus or university campus, right? My simple question is, I give you a task. I want you to cover all the buildings in your campus using the minimum length of wire. I'm repeating my question. I want you to cover or wrap all the buildings in your campus using minimum length of the cable. Cable is just a wire. Which data structure or which algorithm I'm talking about? Let's see how many of you give it correct. Which data structure or which algorithm I'm talking about? Trees, graphs, TSPs, MSG. MSG, okay, message, structure, mathematical, shortest path, graphs, extra, graphs. That's what, guys, we are looking for a very specific answer. There's a very, very specific answer to this. Okay, Dayanand B, you're very close. Still missing. Okay, Madhukrishna, you're very close. You're missing that path. Graph, sir, shortest path. Dextra. Okay, what else? It's not called Dijkstra, it's called Dijkstra. It's pronounced as Dijkstra algo. Using scale, all pair shortest path. Okay. Out of now, I have got more than how much? It's 86 solutions I can see. Only 3 are correct. Most of you are close to it, but only 3 are correct. Everybody clear with the question, right? You have to connect all the buildings in your campus using minimum length of the cable. Cool. You come to the specific algos. Yes, algos is fine. Data structure I was more looking for. Guys, the correct answer for this question is I'm talking about minimum spanning tree. I'm talking about minimum spanning tree. Think it this way. What is MST? All the buildings are like your nodes in a graph. All the buildings are like nodes, you call it a vertex, you call it in a graph. And you have to connect all the vertices using minimum length of the cable. This is the standard applications of minimum spanning tree. And somebody gave a very good idea, traveling salesman problem. Exactly you do in traveling salesman problem, right? And I think Bhargav has mentioned the ideas as well, which algo we can use to find the MST. It includes Prism, it includes Kruskal, and some other algos as well. Answer is correct, but like exact answer we were looking for is minimum spanning tree. Why I choose this example is this question has been asked in one of the most prestigious product-based company for off-campus role, SD1. Okay. The reason is that the question, I could have directly asked the question, tell me what is MST. But no, I didn't ask what is MST. I converted into a real life problem. Then I asked, tell me which data structure it is. And often, very often in product-based companies, you'll get such kind of questions. Why? Because we want to see, are you application based or not? If I directly ask you, tell me MST, 90% of you would have given me the answer. Correct? You agree to that? If I simply ask the definition, what is the MST, tell me, 90% of you would have given me the right answer. I agree to that. You also agree to that. But when I just change the question to application part, out of 86 or 89, only 3 answers were correct. See, that's the difference. So here at Redis, what we follow is focus more on the applications, or for any DSL we want to master, focus more on the applications part, because ultimately that will be asked in the interview. Got it? Cool. Interesting? Yes or no? I'm pretty much sure most of you knew the answer. Just you question was changed a little bit, so you guys were confused. Some said graphs, some said trees. This is fine. Is this session only for computer science students? Yes, this session is for only computer science students because this is a data structure algorithms course, so we expect for computer science. Even if you're not from computer science background, so everything will be taught from the scratch. So no need to worry about it. Okay. Why part clear? First part, what I have already covered. Why part, applications I have covered. Last part is about how, which is coding and implementation. How do you code or how do you implement that part? Okay, cool. If these 3 questions are able to answer for any DS and algo, I believe you can solve any question related to it. Any question related to it. Okay, cool. Let's try to answer these three questions for dynamic programming. What is dynamic programming? Pretty straightforward. Dynamic programming is nothing. Dynamic programming is just optimization over recursion by storing the results. Optimization over recursion by storing the results. Why do we need it? Why do we need it? To reduce the time complexity from exponential time to polynomial time. That's it. Exponential time to polynomial time. When I say polynomial, it can be linear, it can be quadratic. Okay, don't worry about it. I will cover each and everything one by one. Number one, we are trying to answer these three questions for dynamic programming. Okay, let's answer about first question. What is dynamic programming? Dynamic programming is nothing. It's just an optimization over recursion by storing the results. Number two, why do we need it? We need it because it reduces the complexity from exponential time to polynomial time. Polynomial time, it can be linear, it can be quadratic, depending upon how many state variables are there. That's what you call 1DDP, 2DDP. We'll understand each and everything just by taking an example. Okay. Tell me one thing, guys. What is this series called? If anybody has idea, anybody can tell me what is this series called? Just anybody can tell me, like, what is this series called, or what is this sequence called? Okay. Okay. All of you are giving correct answers. I'm seeing who will give incorrect answer. That part everybody knows. That's all I need. That's all I need. This series is called Fibonacci series. Fibonacci series or Fibonacci sequence, whatever you want to call. Okay. If I have to define it, or if I have to explain it to somebody who does not know Fibonacci, you guys know this is Fibonacci. If you have to explain it to somebody who does not know Fibonacci, what will you say? You will say every term is the sum of previous two terms, right? Every number in the series is the sum of previous two numbers. That's what you will say. Yes or no? It is the definition of it, correct? Okay. So if I write this statement, will it be correct or will it be incorrect? Everybody. Fib of n minus 1 plus fib of n minus 2. If I write this statement, line number 548, is it correct or is it incorrect? I want everybody's answer. Is it correct or is it incorrect to write like this? Okay. This part is correct. We can define this series as fib of n minus 1 plus fib of n minus 2. A term is the sum of last two terms. N is the nth term, n minus 1 is the previous term, n minus 2 is the previous second term. So every term is the sum of two terms, previous term and the last two terms. Okay. This is the previous term and the previous to previous. Last two terms sum is the current term. This part everybody clear. Give me yes if everybody clear with it. Give me yes if everybody clear with it. Cool. Simple. Simple. We'll keep it very simple and you will not even realize when the complete DP will be done. Okay. Okay. Take n equal to 5. We're keeping very short. We're keeping it very short. Take n equal to 5. Can anybody tell me if I want to know the fifth Fibonacci number, what do I need? Just put n equal to 5 in the formula. If I want to know the fifth Fibonacci number, what do I need? Come on, guys, everybody. Recursion based till condition. Forget about recursion. Just focus on this formula. If I ask you, tell me the fifth Fibonacci number, what do I need? This complete session is about a new approach. I'm not saying the existing approach that you might have is wrong or right. I'm nobody to judge. But I will teach you in such a simple, lucid way, you will not even realize when you become a master in DP at the end of this class. Just what I'm telling you, just keep following that and we'll see which one of the approach is better. Correct. If you put n equal to 5 here, one thing is clear. I need the fourth Fibonacci number and I need the third Fibonacci number. That's it. If I want to know the fifth Fibonacci number, I need the fourth and the third. And if I will add them, I will get the fifth Fibonacci number. Is that statement clear to everybody? Is that statement clear to everybody? Quickly give me a yes or no. So then we can discuss about something else. Okay, that statement is clear to everybody. Simple, easy. Explain again. Okay, just put n equal to 5 here. If you put n equal to 5 here, this will be fib of 5. N minus 1 is fib of 4. 5 minus 1, 4. 5 minus 2 is 3. So to know the fifth Fibonacci number, you need to know the fourth Fibonacci number and third Fibonacci number. Then you add their values, you will get the fifth Fibonacci number. Clear? Pretty straightforward. Okay. Following the same approach, to get the fourth Fibonacci number, what do I need? Put n equal to 4 here. To get the fourth Fibonacci number, what do I need? Come on guys, be fast. I want response from everybody. Correct. I will need again two values. Just put n equal to 4 here. I will need fib of 3 plus fib of 2. It means I will need the third Fibonacci number. I will need the second Fibonacci number. Easy? Pretty easy? Easy peasy thing? Cool. If I put n equal to 3 here, what do I need? I will need 2 and 1. And this will go on forever until I reach for 1 and 0. Correct? Okay. Everybody clear with that part? Everybody clear with that part? Okay. Cool. Now let me just draw a tree diagram for it. A tree diagram for it. And all of you will understand it, don't worry. What you're saying is you want to reach at 5. So you told me for 5, I need 4, I need 3. Okay. Very straightforward. Line number 1. The tree diagram I have drawn for line number 1. You want to go to 5, what you need is you need 4 and you need 3. Correct? Okay. Then you said for 4 also, I need 3 and I need 2. Okay. Then you said for 4, I need 3, I need 2. And for 3, you told me you need 2 and 1. Correct? Okay. And this will be keep on repeating itself. So for 3 again, you will need 2 and 1. And for 2 also, you will need 1 and 0. Again for 2, you will need 1 and 0. For 1, it will be only 1. And for 2 again, you will need 1 and 0. This will be the complete tree diagram. This will be the complete tree diagram for it. Then it will be 3 and it will be 5. Give me yes if everybody able to understand the tree diagram. If anybody is not able to understand, let me know. I will explain again. Give me yes if everybody able to understand. If anybody is not able to understand, please type no. I will explain again. Okay, I got 2-3 people who said no. Okay, let me just revise it very quickly. This part everybody understood. This part everybody understood. Yes. Those who type no, they also understood. Okay. This part everybody understood. Just put n equal to here and you will get this result. Correct? This is nothing. This is just a tree representation. Tree representation means visual representation of the line I have written here. Nothing else. See here, what am I saying at line number 556? I am saying to go to 5, you need 4 and 3. I have written to go to 5, you need to go 4 and 3. Just focus on these 3 nodes. Forget about the complete tree. Focus on these 3 nodes. To go to 5, you need to know 4 and 3. Correct? Now focus on this part. Focus on this part. To go to 4, you need 3 and 2. That's the line number 557. Similarly, for 3, you will need 2 and 1. For 2, you will need 1 and 0. So on and so forth. 2, you will need 1 and 0. 3, you will need 2 and 1. This is what we call as tree representation. Basically, to reach at the node, what do you need? You need all the two values, n minus 1 and n minus 2. To reach at every result, you need to know two values, n minus 1 and n minus 2. Give me yes if everybody clear with that tree diagram. Can I record the session? The session will be recorded, guys. Don't worry. The session will be recorded. The session will be uploaded on YouTube. You don't need to worry about anything. Just be in the class, enjoy the moment. Any question you come across, ask me. At the end of this session, you will be able to solve any question. That's what I'm saying. I'll keep it so lucid, you will not even realize when you have completed DP. But just I want is your undivided attention. I want 100% of you guys. Clear? Okay. Until now, everything clear? Until now, everything clear? Will we get the link for session? It will be uploaded on the YouTube channel for Redist that all the questions will be answered by Ravi at the end of the session. Don't worry about it. Let's continue with the session. When the session will complete, all your questions will be answered, guys. Don't worry about it. Okay, cool. Until now, it's everything clear. Let's make it unique. Let's make it unique. Suppose there are two brothers. Suppose there are two brothers, an elder brother and a younger brother. Okay. Elder brother name is recursion. Younger brother name is dynamic programming. Dynamic programming. Or we can just call it DP in short. Okay. Recursion is the elder brother, and as always, elder brother is what? Elder brother is what? Elder brother is very hardworking. As always. And DP is what? DP is a younger brother. He is like more of a lazy side, but on the same hand, he is also smart. Smart worker. Okay. So we have two brothers. Just I'm relating to some situation. There are two brothers. Number one, first brother name is Recursion. He is elder, and as usual, the elder brothers are hardworking in nature. Second brother is DP. He is the younger brother, and he's like a lazy, but he's a very smart worker. Is this condition everybody clear? Is this condition everybody clear? Okay, cool. Now let me explain you the situation. Quickly tell me what festival is coming up. Quickly tell me what is the new coming festival. Everybody has that you're celebrating the Dashera, Navratri, anything else, a new festival coming up, the Dashera festival. Okay, Diwali, cool. Good festival, Diwali is coming up. Okay, Diwali is coming up, and what is the most common thing with Diwali? Most common thing with Diwali is Son Papdi, right? Just to be related to it. Most common thing with Diwali is, yeah, sweets, and in sweets we have the most common Son Papdi, which will be exchanged here and there. Cool. Let me explain you a problem. Consider this as number of floors. Consider this as number of floors. So you live in a building, you live at the fifth floor. You live in a building, you live at the fifth floor. I'm repeating again. You live in a building, you live at the fifth floor. Okay. Now you have two brothers. The first brother is Recursion, who is the elder brother, and second DP. Okay. What you have to do is from each floor from the base, suppose this is your ground floor, just to give an idea. Just suppose this is your ground floor. And from your ground floor, what you have to do, from your ground floor, what you have to do, let me get it here, yeah. From ground floor to your floor, you have to collect all the boxes of Son Papdi. Is the task clear? You live at the fifth floor. All of these are floor. Ground floor, first floor, second floor, third floor, and this floor, whatever it is. Okay. You live here. You have to collect from all your neighbors, neighbor you call it, acquaintances you call it. You have to collect the Son Papdi boxes until your fifth level. Is the question clear to everybody? Yes or no? Is it clear to everybody? Okay. Cool. Cool. Now let's start with the question. The first brother, who is the recursion, what does he do is he go from first floor. Okay. He go from first floor, ground floor. Then he goes to the first floor, right? Then he goes to the second floor. Again, he start from the first floor. Every time he's traversing, he's coming back to the ground floor. So how it works is, how does the recursion works is here. Again, he's a hard worker, right? He does not know how to work smartly. He's a hard worker. What does he do is start from start from ground floor always, always and always. Okay. What he does is he go to the first floor. How do you go to the first floor? 0 to 1. Then how do you go to the second floor? 0 to 1 to 2. How does he go to the 0 is the ground floor here. How does he go to the third floor? 0 to 1 to 2, then 3. How does he go to the fourth floor? 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Is everybody clear with that? The first brother, the elder brother Recursion, who is hardworking in nature, what he does is he start from the ground floor. Then to reach the first floor, he again start from the ground floor, again go to the first floor. To reach the second floor, he does not directly go to the second floor. He again start from the ground floor and reach here. He could have gone from first floor to second floor directly, right? But there is no lift. So what he did is he went to the stairs, he reached at the ground floor, and again he reached to the second floor. Then to third floor, again he started from here, then 1, 2, 3. To fourth floor, again started from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is what recursion does. So every time to go to any floor, he start traversing from the ground floor. Is everybody clear with that? Okay, I'm explaining again. To collect the boxes of sweets, whatever sweets, we have kept it on Papdi because it's very common during Diwali. Every time he has to collect the sweets from his neighbor, he start taking from the ground floor. So ground floor, he will come here. If he want to go to the first floor, he will not directly go from 0 to 1. He will come and he'll come from here. If he want, he can directly come from 1 to 2. But what did he choose? 0, then 1, then again 2. For third again 0, then 1, then 2, then 3. So on and so forth. Of course, he's a hard worker, right? He's a hard worker, so he's always choose from ground floor. Clear? Okay. Is it a good way? Is it a good way to collect the boxes? Is it a good way to collect the boxes, or is it a efficient way to collect the boxes? No, right? It's unnecessarily doing the hard work. So who can? Guess who will gain? The smart worker will gain. He is lazy, no doubt. He is a younger brother. He is lazy, no doubt. But he's a smart worker too. Okay. So what does the smart worker says? He says, brother, since you are already here at the second floor, why you are going to the ground floor again? You can directly go from second floor to third floor. You can directly go from third to fourth floor, fourth to fifth floor. So you just have to use the lift. Why are you using the stairs? Use a lift, you will go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. Smart worker came, he says use a lift. Okay, so what if you have to go to the first, how will you go? 0 to 1. If you have to go to the second, 1 to 2. If you have to go to the third, 2 to 3. If you have to go to the fourth, 3 to 4. That's it. Pretty straightforward, simple answer. Okay, give me yes if everybody clear. Give me yes if everybody clear. Okay, now let me explain what is happening actually. This is the example that I've used to differentiate how recursion works and how DP works. Let me put it in the more technical terms. Come back here. What you want? You want to reach at 5. Okay, just to explain it more technically. This is just to relate it to a real life, so it becomes understandable, right? And by the way, tell me who will do less effort, recursion or DP? Who will do less effort? Recursion will do less effort, or DP will do less effort? Correct. DP is the smart guy, right? Smart guy does the less effort. Okay. Will they get the same result? Will they get the same result? Yes, they will get the same result. They are ultimately collecting the same boxes. But DP is taking way too much time. Way too much time because he is doing way too much iterations, right? Now let's come back to the technical terms. This is just to relate to a real life. Come back to the technical terms, right? What is the technical term? To reach at the top, what is happening? Every time recursion goes at the bottom. Every time recursion goes from leaf to root traversal. Every time recursion goes from, for example, if I want to calculate the result of 3, I will not start just from 2 and 1. I will go to 0, then 1, then again 2, then again 3. Similarly, if I want result of 4, again I will start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is leaf to root traversal every time for every node. Leaf to root traversal every time for every node in case of recursion. Give me yes if that is clear. Give me yes if that is clear. Okay. The smart guy, DP says, brother, if you have already calculated the result of 3 here, why you are going to 0? You want the value of 4. You want the value of 4. You already have calculated value of 3. Why you are starting from 0? Just use the value of 3, use the value of 2, add it to get the value of 4. So DP does not do anything. DP just stores the result. DP just stores the result at every stage and tell you the answer. Same thing. What recursion does is every time it will go from leaf to root traversal for every node. What DP will does is it will store the result. It will store the result at every node you visit so that it can be used and there is no need to retraverse it again. Give me yes, guys, if everybody clear with that. Give me yes, guys, if everybody clear with that. Cool. This is about what and why. And this is the line that I have written. What is DP? DP is just optimization over recursion by storing the results. Why do we need? To reduce the complexity from exponential time to polynomial time. Complexity part will come when we'll write the code, we'll come to it. Okay, cool. Somebody asked me to explain again, so I will just cover it once more quickly. Think, yeah, Dayanand has just asked you, so I will just quickly do it. When you're doing recursion, what you're doing is, suppose you want to get the result of 3. Take two cases. You want to get the result of 3 and you want to get the result of 4. If you observe carefully, to get the result of 3, what you get? 0, then 1, then 2, then again 1, and then 3. That's how you got the result of 3. 0 plus 1 will give you the second value, 1 plus 2 will give you the third value. Is that part clear to everybody? Is that part clear to everybody? Okay, cool. Now second case, you want to get the result of 4. If you want to get the result of 4, what recursion will do is, it will again start from 0, then 1, then 1, then 2, then 3. Here also 0, then 1, then 2, and then 4. What DP will do is it will already have the result stored here. In the last step, you calculated result for 3. Is there a need to go below down it? Since you already know the result for it, is there a need to traverse the below down levels in it? Do I need to traverse this? No, I don't need to traverse this. If you just store the result here, just type like result is here or just type like result is here. Just add these two results, you will get your answer. Correct? That is what actually DP does. It stores the result at every node you visit, at every state you visit, and you can use it for calculating next node. You don't have to retravel it every time. Give me yes if everybody clear now. Give me yes if everybody clear now. Cool. For this piece of code, now we can write the code. Now we can write the code for this problem. So I need just this relation and I can write the code for this. I will write the code in both recursion and DP format. You will be able to notice the difference. Okay. Simplest. Integer Fibonacci. What do I need? I need to return the nth Fibonacci number. Okay. What I defined? Return Fibonacci of n minus 1 plus n minus 2. This is my recursion code. This is my recursion code. Is this code correct? Is this code correct? Yes or no? As per the formula, this is correct. This should be correct, right? Is this code correct? Yes or no? If yes, what? If yes, then okay. If no, what's wrong with it? As per the formula, this is correct, right? As per the formula, this is correct. Yes. There's a particular condition called, yeah, that condition is called something, that case is called something, that is called the base case, right? Okay, those who have no idea, just to revise it, this function is recursion. This function is recursion. Recursion means a function calling itself inside its implementation. This is the implementation of fib function. And inside the implementation, it is calling the same function. A function which calls itself inside its implementation, that is called recursion. Okay. The problem with this code is it will keep on running infinite times because you have not told the code when to stop, right? You put n equal to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then it will become 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. It will keep on going forever. You have not told it where to stop, right? So to tell that where to stop, we call something called base condition, which tells the recursion where to stop. The base condition will be here. The base condition will be here. If n less than equal to 1, just return 1. Now the code is complete. Now the code is complete. Give me yes if everybody clear with it. Give me yes if everybody clear with it. Now the code is complete and it will work. Okay. By the way, recursion uses recursion stack also. So how it will work is if you pass n equal to 5, what will happen? What will happen? N equal to 5, what will be called? It will be called fib of 5. Yes or no? First thing that will be called is fib of 5, correct? Then fib of 4, then fib of 3. Since it is a stack, so values will be put on the top. Fib of 4, then fib of 3, then fib of 2, then fib of 1. Like this. This is what your recursion stacks look like. Now it will come here. If n less than equal to 1, return 1. This logic will be done. The control will go out of this function and that's it. This function will not execute anymore. Okay. This is what we call as recursion stack. Yeah, this will return 1. Yes, this will return 1. What is recursion stack? Recursion stack is nothing. It stores all the operations in the stack which has been called by your recursive function. So it's called fib of 5, then fib of 4, then fib of 3, then fib of 2, then fib of 1. After fib of 1, it will not call anything. It will just stop there. It will just stop there. It contains only the function calls, not the answers. Not the answers. I'm not talking about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, not the answers. It contains only the function calls, which function has been called. Okay, that's it. This is what we call for recursion stack, and this is the code for recursion. Give me yes if everybody clear with it. Give me yes if everybody clear with it. Come on guys, be fast. Okay. This was the hard worker. This was the elder brother. This was the hard worker. Okay. Let's go back to our smart worker. Younger brother, lazy but smart worker. fib of dp. He's also going to do the same thing, exact same thing he's going to do, but in a very smart way. Let's see what he has done. He says, I want to store the values. I want to store the values. So it created something like an array to store the values. What it will have? Allocate a size of n plus 1 memory. N plus 1 in memory. Okay. He stored for the results. Now what he defined for f of 0 equal to 0, f of 1 he defined it to be 1. Okay, 0 and 1. And he just run a loop for I equal to 2, I less than equal to n, I plus plus, f of I equal to what? F of I minus 1 plus f of I minus 2. Observe carefully, guys. Observe carefully. Line number 649, line number 649, line number 620, these are exactly same. Observe carefully. Line number 649, line number 620 are exactly same. Only difference is here you are calling recursion, so it will give a repetitive call to itself. Repetitive means every time leaf to root traversal. That's what I've been explaining here. Every time coming to the ground floor, every time coming to the ground floor, every time coming to the ground floor, there. In case of a DP, whatever state it is currently now, it will go from there. So whatever height you have reached, you will not go down from there. If you have come to the fifth floor, you will not go any floor less than fifth. You will go only up. I'm repeating again. In this case, whatever height you have reached, if you have reached to 3, again you have to start from 0. You have reached till 20, again you have to start from 0. But in case of a DP, whatever height you have reached, you will not go down from it because until that you have stored the results. So you will not go down from it. You will only go up from it. 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, so on and so forth. Clear? This is what this code is about. I equal to less than n, I plus plus, this got it, and then what? Return the f of n and Fibonacci number. Give me yes if everybody clear with it. The DP part as well as the recursive part. Give me yes if everybody clear with it. Anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask us. Anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask us. Okay, cool, cool. Explain once again which part, guys. Can you just mention the line number to explain? If anybody has any questions, quickly mention the line number which explains. I will explain it quickly. Bottom up, top down, how to get. We'll get to it, don't worry. Bottom up, top down, we'll get to everything. This is not required in case of bottom up, top down. That's required for higher level DPs. Okay, yeah, very good example given. It's clear, sir. Thank you very much. Why don't we go from fifth to first? Okay, okay. Tell me one thing. Tell me one thing. Which one is better, first of all? Out of these two, which one is better? What do you think? Which one is better? Recursion or DP? Of course, DP, right? Because you don't have to do extra work. So why do you want to go from fifth to first? It's not like you cannot go. It's not like you cannot go. You can go. The thing is that it will take more time. If you're getting the same results and you're giving more time of it, what's the point? If you can get the same result in less time, obviously you will prefer something with the less time. That is why the whole concept of time complexity came into picture. If something can be solved in a very less time, you'll go with the very less time, right? That's what DP says. If I'm already at this point, what is the need? I already know the result of this. What is the need to go down from here? What recursion says, I am not storing the results. So I will do every time I will come for ground and every time I will calculate. DP says, there's no need to calculate again and again. If you reached here, it means you know the results until here. That's why I've used an extra memory for you, right? That's why I've used an extra memory for you so that I know the results until now. I can use this result. I don't need to go below it. I don't need to go below it. This is what recursion and DP is all about. Recursion says, no, I will start from 0 every time. DP says, whatever you have reached, you just go up from there. Don't go down from there. You already have results till that point. This is what we call state in DP. You already have results till that state. Don't go anything beyond that. Just use the results. That's it. Cool, guys. Give me yes if everybody clear. Okay. First piece of code, quite simple. Tell me simply time complexity and space complexity of it. This code, let me see how many of you will give the right answer to time complexity in big O notation. Time complexity of this 3-4 lines of a code. 3-4 lines of a code. What is the time complexity of this code? Come on, guys, everybody. Don't know. Okay, that's a good answer. N square, big of n. Okay, what else? Big of n square, O n. Okay. What else? Time complexity. Not a single correct answer till now. Not a single correct answer till now. And log n. Okay, nothing to do with log n, guys. Understand log n means you're dividing at half. Exponential. I want the exact answer. Exponential won't work. Big of n cube. Okay. N cube means for every value you're having a nested loop for 2 times. N raised to the power n. Which one, sir? Okay. Cool, guys. Let's break out the surprise. The time complexity for this code is big of 2 raised to the power n. 2 raised to the power n, which we call as exponential time complexity. Space complexity is big of 1, which we talk about in memory space, but this is a recursion. This will be using a recursive stack. So auxiliary space is big of n, in memory space is big of 1. Clear? Time complexity for this case is big of 2 raised to the power n. If we want to verify, simple, take the mathematics, open a pen, paper, and just try doing the calculations. Try to reach the 5, start reaching from 0, 1, 2, and 0, 1, 2 again and again. If you will do all the sum, you will get 2 raised to the power 5. What is 2 raised to the power 5? 32. 2 raised to the power 5 is 32. You can verify with that. Total number of iterations you will take from reaching to 5 every time if you start from 0. Total, if you do it, this will be 32. If you do it all the iterations every time, total sum it will be 32. This is 2 raised to the power n. Okay. Time complexity 2 raised to the power n in memory space big of 1. What about this piece of code? What about the DP one? What is the time and space complexity? Come on, guys, everybody. What about the DP code? What is the time and space complexity? Both of them. Okay, guys, about 20 answers. Quickly tell me. This is a straightforward, like, this is not a tough code to decide complexity. You can directly answer. Time big of n square. Okay. Time space big of n. Okay. What else? What else? What else? Quickly tell me, guys. Quickly tell me, guys. Okay. Correct. Time complexity is big of n. Space complexity is big of n. How do I know? This will not take any time complexity. This will not take, this will not take. Here, this for loop will run n minus 1 times, which is what we call as O(n) notation. Big of n minus 1 equal to big of n, correct? This is assignment, this is big of 1. Total is big of n. Space is being occupied here. I am creating an extra array. Extra mean which was not given in the question, which was not already provided. I created an extra array. That is why a space complexity of big of n. Okay. Cool. Now, guys, let's come back. Let's come back to our initial discussion. This is in memory, by the way. Okay. If I technically see, I'm using the same space in recursion as well as in DP. It's just that it's in memory space, and this is what? This is auxiliary space. Correct? Okay. Understand this thing. This is the most critical part. In recursion, my time complexity is big of 2 raised to the power n. In DP, my time complexity is big of n. Is everybody clear to see it? Is everybody clear to see it? Yes or no? 2 raised to the power n and big of n. Is it like much difference or like not much difference? How is it? Is it a big difference? It's like doesn't matter, very slow difference, like doesn't much matter. Have we saved anything or we didn't save anything? It's a massive difference. It's not much of a difference. What do you think? Very, very much difference, exponential linear. Try to relate. It's a big difference. It's a very less difference. Doesn't matter much. We can use any answer. Both is fine. Too much difference. Okay. Just to make it sure, I'm using a very small number. Suppose an array of 100 elements. Or to relate in real life, suppose a building of 100 floors. Okay. Building of 100 floors. Tell me just one thing. 2 raised to the power 100 and 100. 100 is 100. 100 means 100 iterations you will be doing. That's it. Big of n means 100 iterations. Can anybody tell me what is 2 raised to the power 100? Anybody tell me 2 raised to the power 100? 2 raised to the power 100 is 200. Guys, then what is 2 into 100? If 2 raised to the power 100 is 200, then what is 2 into 100? It's 2 raised to the power 100, guys. 2 into 2 into 2 into 2 into 100 times. Anybody just make a random guess how big this number is. How big this number is. It's a massive value. It's not just a big value, a bigger value. It's a massive, massive value. It's going to be, just to give you an idea, trillions of iterations. Okay. And 1 trillion equal to 10 raised to the power 12, just to make sure. 1 trillion is 10 raised to the power 12. It's trillions of iteration. Now just think for a second. Just think for a second. One application, it takes, for let's just suppose one iteration take 1 second. Very simple. We'll do the simple maths. One iteration takes 1 second. Second program will run in 100 seconds, right? 1 minute 40 seconds. First program will run trillions of seconds. You will grow old, you will die. No, suppose you don't die, you will grow old, your kids will grow old, your grandkids will grow old. You may be alive, you may not be alive, but it's like generations will go on till this program will finish. Trillions of iterations. Are you able to notice the difference? 100 seconds versus like 3 generations. Just to give a rough idea, around 100 and 115 years, something around it. That's a trillions of seconds. Just to relate it, notice the difference, right? 100 seconds versus 115 years, roughly 115 years. This much massive is this difference. 2 raised to the power n and big of n is a very, very, very big difference. Give me yes if you're able to understand it practically. Practically. Not just theoretically, also practically. That's what I said. Both things are equally important. Okay, this is what it is all about. This is what it is all about. What did I tell you? What is DP? It's nothing. It's an optimization of recursion by storing the results. Why we do it? To reduce the time complexity from exponential time to polynomial time. It can be linear, it can be quadratic, depending upon it's a 1D DP, 2D DP, or multiple DP we are solving for 3D, 4D, or etc. Okay, cool. And this is the final solution of DP. What does DP? Nothing. Store the results of sub problems so that it can be used later. What is the advantage? No need to recalculate again and again. That's it. This is all DP is about. Store the results of sub problems so that it can be used later. Why do we do it? Is so that there is no need to recalculate it again and again. And what did we gain out of it? We reduced from 2 raised to the power n to big of n, from exponential time complexity to the linear time complexity. Give me yes, guys, if everybody clear with DP. Give me yes, guys, if everybody clear with DP. Everybody, guys, everybody. There are around 130 people now. I want response from everybody. Cool, simple, pretty straightforward. Okay. This is what I wanted to clarify before solving any questions. Now I'm going to give you a mantra. You call it a mantra, you call it whatever you want to call. If you're clear with that concept, any question in the DP, any question, I mean any question, you take it from top code or you take it from Codeforces, you take it from CodeJam, HackerCup, you will be able to solve it. I'm going to teach you how to solve any DP question in the world. Any means any. Okay. All I want is your undivided attention. So let's boost up ourselves. Give me a yes in the chat or give me a thumbs up in the chat. Any emoji that you want to use, give me that thumbs up in the chat. I want everybody to respond because this is the crux of this program or crux of this whole session. Yeah, I think this symbol is like what I like. I'm not sure what this symbol is called, but this is good. I think this symbol is called yo-yo or something. Okay, emoji symbol is also fine. Cool. Very straightforward, very simple. This is the crux. If you understand this, everything becomes clear. Very simple, 4 steps. If you apply the 4 steps as it is, you can solve any DP question in the world. Okay. What are the 4 steps? One, two, three, four. Fourth will not be required for 1D DP. Three will be required. Okay. Cool. We'll talk about it. First step, number one, identify. Second step, second step is called decide a state expression. Third step is called formulate. Formulate the state relation, which is a very important one. And last is what? Last is nothing, it's just optimization. Tabulation analysis. This is what you call just bottom up or top down. That's it. Okay, let's start with one. Again, guys, very straightforward. Only 4 steps to crack any DP question in the world. Identify, decide a state expression, formulate the state relation. Fourth is optimization. Number one, identify. When you see a question, maybe in any hiring contest, maybe in any CP programming contest, or any contest in general, how do you know if it is a DP problem or not? Most of you would have seen like some people, some of your friends, like they read the question and they after just immediately reading the question, they say this will be solved by DP. And some of are like they're reading the question again and again and they don't know. Is it DP? Is it backtracking? Is it greedy? What is it? Had this happened with you? I'm pretty much sure this must have happened if you have solved contest. You will be seeing why are some people they see the question, they quickly tell after 2 seconds, 3 seconds, this is a DP question. And you keep reading the question 5 times, 6 times, you are not able to think, is it DP, is it backtracking, what is it? I'm not getting any idea. Have you guys ever tried to notice what is the difference? Why they are able to quickly tell and why you are not able to quickly tell? Yes, because you are missing the simple trick of it or simple logic out of it. Okay, the logic is simple. Whenever you get questions like this, for example, you see these keywords, look for the keywords. When you get keywords like maximum, minimum, largest, smallest, or number of ways, or count, these kind of things, number of ways, or count, or permutations, or etc. etc. Anything which involves you see a mathematical operations, these are all DP questions. I'm repeating, whenever you find a keyword like maximum, minimum, largest, smallest, number of ways, count, permutations, etc., 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 anything which involves getting the total results and then doing mathematical operations on it, this is called DP. This is called DP. To give an example of it, take a simple example. I'm pretty much sure most of you would have solved this question, but if not, you must have heard about this question. Longest common substring, let's say substring between two strings. How many of you have seen this question? Solved it, not solved it, that doesn't matter. How many of you have seen this question? It's a very standard question, very famous question. Find me the longest common substring from the given two strings. Everybody give me a yes. Very standard, very popular question. Okay. Imagine like you have solved it or does not solve it, doesn't matter. If I tell you this trick, can you tell me is it a DP question or not? Just by reading the question, just by reading the question. That's it. Even if you have solved it or not. Can you read the question and you tell me if it is DP or not? Yes. How? How? You observe the keyword longest. Longest. That is why you find, okay, this is longest being asked, largest, longest, whatever it is. Longest palindrome. All of these are DP question, guys. Whenever you find largest, longest, count, number of ways, maximum, minimum, all of these are DP based question. If you just solve, if you have solved it or not solved it, this is solved using DP. This is a standard DP question. Okay. To give you a real life idea, this approach works. This approach is the right approach. I told you this. This question most of you would have solved. Even not, you can just find the solution, or if you want to try, you can try it yourself. This question is solved using DP. Okay. You can verify this identify step. Everybody clear with that? Everybody clear with that? Okay. And now this is the reason that those of your friends who read a question one time, they are able to identify why it is a DP question. Okay. Initially, you're getting confused how they are able to identify, you are not able to identify because they knew this trick. They knew this trick. Okay, they knew this trick. Now you know as well. So you will only take 5 seconds to understand this is DP or this is backtracking. Okay, cool. One more thing, guys. Question will not be directly asked to you like this. So there is an art called becoming an Arjun. What is an Arjun? If you remember anybody from the Mahabharata, what is Arjun famous for? Anybody? What is Arjun famous for in Mahabharata? Correct. Focus and archery. Focus and archery, correct. If you remember the complete Haman, he did not go to the eye of the fish. He went to the eye of the fish, not the fish. So eye of the fish are the keywords. Your eye of the fish are these keywords, okay? And this will be the complete fish given to you. Don't focus on the complete fish, guys. Focus on the eye of the fish. That's the skill you need to master to become a better developer and to become better competitor, as a matter of fact. Clear? Okay. Adding to the identity part, these questions were related to DP. Whenever you find such keyword, these questions are related to DP. Questions like check if, is it possible? I'm pretty much sure you must have found questions like this. Check if, is it possible, or something which involves true or false, or like this. Something which involves binary solutions. These are backtracking questions because they are possibly asking you to find all the particular combinations. Find all the combinations. It means check for all possible combinations. This is nothing. This is backtracking. Okay. Whenever you get a binary solution, output for these cases, output for these questions will be either true or false, or it will be yes or no, or possible or not possible. All of these questions are nothing. All of these questions are backtracking based questions. Okay. Let me give you another question. Pretty much sure most of you would have solved it. Another question to relate. Check if it is possible to reach at the end of matrix by using only case steps. There are many variations of this question. This question is commonly called a rat maze problem, but there are many variations to this question. Robot problem, rat maze problem, but a lot of time. Sometimes diagonal movement is allowed, sometimes horizontal vertical movement is allowed, like this, right? How many of you have seen this question? Any of the variation is fine. How many of you have seen this question? Most of you would have seen this question. This is a standard backtracking question. Cool. Okay, guys. What is the answer for it? Whenever the question is like check if, the answer is going to be either yes or no. Either possible or not possible. Only two answers are possible. There is no third answer possible. Correct? Okay. How do I know this is a backtracking question? How do I know this is a backtracking question? I see the keyword. I see the keyword. Check if it is possible. Understood? Now you also got the mastery. When you read a question, you are able to identify whether it's backtracking or is TP. 50% of your question is solved just by reading the question. 50% of your question is solved just by reading the question. You already know the algorithm, you already know the constraints, you know the time complexity, you know the algorithm. All is left is do the coding part. Is everybody clear with that? The first step, identify. The first step, identify. Everybody clear with that? Cool. Second step, very easy. Decide a state expression. State expression means state of n. It means what am I doing at n state? What am I doing or what am I looking for at my n state? Think it like you are in a matrix. You are in a matrix. Imagine yourself, there's a very big matrix. You are standing at any one of the cells. Everybody imagine, yes, there's a very big matrix. You're standing at one of the cells. Second step tell you what that step is telling you. What does that cell represent? What are you looking for? And that's already given in the question. That's always and always given in the question. I'm repeating again. State expression means what exactly you are looking for. If you are at a particular state, what does that state tells you? What does that state tells you? Okay. Third step, which is the most important one, is formulate the state relation. It means how does your current result relates to previous result, or your current state relates to previous states. How do you imagine that? Think again yourself in a matrix. You are in a cell. Understand how did you reach that cell? Either you take a right turn, you reach there, you take a left turn, you reach there, you take a bottom, you take a down, you take a diagonal, whatever. How did you reach there? That is what the state relation means. And the last part is optimization of tabulation memorization. This is for the higher DP. For example, where you have more than one state variable, 2D DP, 3D DP, etc. etc. Okay, cool. Let me show you all the 4 steps for a very simple question called Fibonacci. Fibonacci of n minus 1 plus n minus 2. Okay, this is a Fibonacci. Let's make it very simple. What will be the step 2 for it? What will be the step 2 for it? Everybody. Step 2 is what? What is state of n telling me? Let me give you a hint. Let me give you a hint. Step 2 means what does fib of k tells me? Think it this way. Fib of 0 tells you 0 Fibonacci number. Fib of 1 tells you first Fibonacci number. Fib of 2 tells you what? Second Fibonacci number. Fib of 3 tells you third Fibonacci number. What does fib of k tells you? Quickly tell me. What does fib of k tells you? Quickly tell me. Correct. Fib of k is what? Fib of k is what? Nothing. It's just kth Fibonacci number. Is everybody clear with step 2? Step 2 is already given in the question and already means always given in the question. State of n or state of k, if you want to better understand, it means if I am at a state k, if I am at a position k, then what does that k tell me? Or what does that k denote? That is the meaning of it. Clear? State of k means what does that state denotes me? Clear? Cool. Third step, which is the most important, is this. Step number 3. Step number 3 is pretty straightforward, which is what? Step number 3 tells you how did you reach there? How does your current state relates to previous state? If I am at fib of k, how did I reach here? If I am at fib of k, how did I reach here? Come on, guys. My current result, how it relates to the previous results. If I reach to the kth Fibonacci number, how did I reach to the kth Fibonacci number? Everybody. Correct. That's the answer I was expecting. You have reached from the last 2 terms. Fib of k minus 1 plus fib of k minus 2. Fib of k minus 1 plus fib of k minus 2. Give me yes if everybody clear with that. Give me yes if everybody clear with that. Again, I'm revising it. This is the crux of this complete session, guys. To solve any DP question, just understand the top 3 part. Fourth is required for the high DP. We're not focusing on the fourth one. Once we go to the advanced DP, we'll focus it. First, identify whether it's a DP problem or not. How do you identify? Look for these keywords in the question. Okay. Second question you have to go is decide a state expression, means what am I doing at my kth state? If I am at a current state, what does this current state tells me? That's always given in the question. Third, formulate the state relation, which is most important. If you're storing the previous result, you should know how did you get the previous results? How does your current result depends upon the previous results? And fourth is for the higher order DP. Tabulation memorization where we deal with 2D array or 3D array of the matrices. Clear? Okay. Now let me take a question. Let me take a question which was asked by Amazon. Let's see how many of you are able to solve it. How many of you are able to solve it? Okay. I'll just represent your question. We'll take it to that screen. You guys will tell me how is that question related and how will you solve it. Okay. Should be visible now. Give me yes, guys, if you are able to see my screen. Give me yes in the chat if you're able to see my screen. Okay. Everybody sees Amazon asked question, maximum steps to reach n step. Simple, pretty easy. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Okay, cool. Simple question, guys. It's a 2 line of question and I want everybody of you to answer it. Everybody of you to answer it. Okay. Tell me one thing, guys. Tell me just one thing. The question says there are n stairs. A person standing at the bottom wants to reach at the top. The person can climb either one stairs or two stairs at a time. Count the number of ways the person can reach the top. Order does not matter. Order does not matter. Okay. Just tell me one thing. Just by reading these two lines, can you tell me is it a DP question or not? Yes or no? If yes, why? If no, why not? Just by reading these two lines of the question, can you tell me is it a DP question or not? Correct. Most of you have got correct. Why I'm able to tell? The question is count the number of ways. Count the number of ways. Now you guys also got into that category. You read the question within 5 seconds. You tell this is a DP question. Yes or no? Prior to this class, most of you will not be able to tell, but now all of you are able to tell it. Yes or no? Now you read a question. It should not take you more than 5 seconds to figure out whether it's DP or it's backtracking. Clear? Not more than 5 seconds. And that's how you become better as a programmer. Learn to be optimized, learn to save time. Okay? Cool. One thing we are very much clear, or I can just take it the complete question here, and we can go to our Sublime Text. Yeah. Cool guys. Give me yes if my Sublime Text becomes visible. Give me yes when my Sublime Text visible to you. Cool. Again, I will just copy paste these 4 steps. Nothing much, nothing less. I'll solve you and I'll solve it so simplify, so lucidly, you will not even realize when it is solved. Okay, and you will become an expert in DP. Forget about those tables and matrices. That's an old way of doing it. You don't need to memorize a single thing. Just know these 4 parts, these 4 steps one by one, and it becomes very simple. First part, guys. I understood what is this is my fish. This is my fish. 3 lines of a fish. Okay, maybe 4 lines of a fish. What is my eye of the fish? My eye of the fish is this. Count the number of ways. Clear? I know the fish. I know my eye of the fish. Okay, this should be like this. Yeah. Count the number of ways. My first part is done. Yes or no? 25% of my task is done. Yes or no? And not even 25. This question is only for one variable. So this will not be required. 1/3, 33% of your question is done. Identify. Okay. Second part. Second part. Decide a state expression. It means if you are at kth step or if you're at kth state, what is that telling you? Always look in the question. Always look in the question. What does your state of k telling you? When you say 4 is 5, what is actually 4 is 5? No, no, not this. Not this, guys. Don't confuse the step 2 and step 3. Step 3 is about how it relates to the previous result. That's a different thing. Step 2 is about what the state of k tells you. Again, I'm repeating it. For the Fibonacci number, step 2 is Fibonacci of k means kth Fibonacci number. For step 3, it is how it relates to the previous result. Don't mix the two things. Step 2 is formulate the state expression. Third is formulate the state relation, right? So what is telling me if I'm saying, what am I looking for in my answer? What am I looking for in my answer? I'm looking for the number of ways to reach a particular step using one or two. Yes or no? At particular case step, my answer, if I write like this, answer of k, this is denoting what? This is denoting number of ways to reach kth step using one or two step. Is it right or not? If I'm saying answer of k, what I'm saying is number of ways to reach the kth step using only one or two step. Yes or no? Pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward. Okay. Think it this way. If I want to reach at the first step, I have only one method. I can use one. If I want to reach at two steps, I have two methods. What are the two methods? Either I can go with 1 plus 1 or I can go with 2. Correct? If I want to go with 3, either I can go with what are the ways, number of ways? Either I can go with 1 plus 1 plus 1 or I can go with 1 2 or I can go with 2 1. How many ways? Number of ways are 3. Give me yes if everybody clear with it. Give me yes if everybody clear with it. So when I say answer of K, what am I looking for? Guys, just very straightforward. Step to answer is always given in the question. Step to answer is always and always given in the question. Always read the question. What are you looking for? I am looking for number of ways to reach that step. That's it. That's it. Top will become when K is n. Forget about top. If I'm talking about K, I am looking for number of ways to reach the K step using one or two. Is line number 761 clear to everybody? Is line number 761 clear to everybody? Come on, guys, be fast. Give me yes. Cool, sounds good. So my second part is also done. My state of K is what? My state of K is this. Sorted? 50% of your question is done. Not 50%, 67%, because fourth step is not required. Everybody clear? Two steps we have done, 67% question complete. Easy, straightforward. Straightforward, everybody comfortable with DP, nothing tough. All guys you were confused about, simple, pretty straightforward. Cool. Last step, which is the most important, is how does your current result relates to previous result? How does current result relates to previous results? Basically what I'm asking is, if I reach to the kth step, how did I reach there? Again, same thing. Imagine it's a matrix. You are in a cell. How did you reach that cell? You take a left, you take a right, you reach there. You take a bottom, you take a top to reach there. You moved in a diagonal. How did you reach there? Right? How did you reach there, guys? Correct. Either you took a one step or you took a two step. So from your previous state, either you took a one step or you took a two steps. Yes or no? Correct. So how did you reach there? State of K, state of K is what? Either you took one step from your previous or you took two steps from your previous. Plus means or, multiplication means and. Plus means or, multiplication means and. This situation or this equation means to reach the kth step, either you took one from the previous step or you took two from the previous steps. I'm repeating, to reach the kth step, either you reach at one or you took the two steps, and which is correct. Which is correct. You can verify like this. If you are at five, how did you reach to five? If you can take only one step or you can take only two steps, one ways to reach five. You are at four, you take one step. Correct? Agree? Other ways, you are at three, you take two steps. Is that correct or not? One step. If you are at four, if you take one step, you will go to five. If you are at three, if you take two steps, you will go to five. There is no other way, guys, that you can reach to five. There are only two ways. Yes or no? If you want to reach at 5, there are only two ways. Either you can go from 4 by taking one step, or you can go from 3 by taking two steps. There is no other way possible in world because you are allowed only two steps. Is that logic clear to everybody? Is that logic clear to everybody? Come on, guys, be fast. Reach 5 steps. I can reach from 4 or 3. To reach at the step K, either I can go from K minus 1 or K minus 2. Cool. And this is the only thing I needed in my answer. This is the only thing I needed in my answer. If I got this logic, I can write the code for it. If I got this logic, I can write the code for it. If you observe it carefully, this is nothing. This is just a Fibonacci. If you observe carefully, this is nothing. This is just an advanced Fibonacci or a change Fibonacci, nothing else. The question, yes, just base case is not. Yeah, no, not the base case. If you're going with the recursion, it will give you time complexity. Time complexity will be big of 2 raised to the power n, test cases will fail. You will get TLE, time limit exceed. Okay, so you will solve via DP, which will be in point time. Just to write a pseudocode for it, then I will write the production ready code. If you go by recursion, and if you try to solve it by recursion, you say, okay, I want to return the integer n. You want to solve something like n minus 1 plus n minus 2. This will give you time complexity error. And here you can write n less than equal to 1. Yes, I'm going to write 1. This will give you TLE, time limit exceed. Okay. Time limit exceed means out of your 10 test cases, 5 test cases will pass, 5 will fail. Why? Because time complexity is what? Big of 2 raised to the power n. 2 raised to the power n. It's a very, 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 very big time complexity, guys. I told you in trillions or trillions, just for n equal to 100. Here n will go very large. Okay. So what is the best way? Best way is to solve using DP. DP time complexity is what? Big of n. And when you submit this solution, your result will be what? All test case passed. And this is what you need to get the interview call. Most of the companies, first round will be database, first round will be data structures algorithm, any contest or any of the platforms, hacker and hacker or whatever it is. You will need to pass all the test cases and that too in a short duration of time to get all test cases to get the next interview call. Remember guys, merely solving the question is not enough. Solving the question quickly is required. Be rest assured, there are many good programmers that you're competing with, even it's on campus, even it's off campus, right? So suppose out of 1,000 people, no company can interview 1,000 people for a role, guys, just be clear. So if 1,000 people register, be rest assured, there will be at least 200 people who have solved all test cases, all questions with all test cases passed. For a vacancy of 10, for a vacancy of 15, companies do not have the resources to interview 200 people. So what they will do? They will shortlist 50 people. Now, how do they shortlist 50 people? Everybody has solved, all 200 have solved, right? So they will shortlist is those who have solved fastest 50. Fastest 50 because that will be graded in the top. That's how the ranking algorithm works. So just solving all questions is not enough, guys. If you are given like 90 minutes or 60 minutes, whatever the pattern is, 3 questions, you have to solve the 3 questions, but not in complete time which is allotted. Try to solve it within 30 minutes, 20 minutes, however the good you are. Okay, 3 questions, 30 minutes enough. Submit it, all test is passed. So not just solving is enough, guys. Solving it quickly is enough required to get the interview call. I'm not scaring you. I'm just telling you from the perspective you should know this. Just solving is not enough. Solving it quickly is required. Clear? Okay. That's one thing. We're clear with the solution. We can code it out, and I will show you the code as well. Second part that I wanted to discuss was this. Here. In the question, you will see something like this. Please output your answer as modulo of this number. What is the use of this? I'm pretty much sure you have seen this lines a lot of times. How many of you have seen this line? Please output your answer as this. Any contest you appear, hacker rank, hacker earth, hiring contest, code chef, top coder if anybody plays git code. You must have seen this. Can anybody tell me the significance of this line? Or is it like ASCII? It's like just an extra thing, it's not even required. Anybody? To decrease the calculation. Okay. Guys, remember there is always a reasoning. Programming is nothing, programming is just reasoning. It's just like mathematics. Okay. There is always and always reason for everything in programming. The exact statement that you will find is, it will be something like, since since the answer can be large, since the answer can be large, so you will get something like, answer can be very large, hence use modulo 1e9 plus 7. 1e9 plus 7 is nothing, it is just 10 raised to the power 9 plus 7. 10 raised to the power 9 plus 7. This is the exact statement you will find in many of the contests, hiring contest or whatever it is. You will find this statement. The reason for that is, guys, what you're doing here is, observe carefully. What you're doing here is you're taking the sum, yes or no? You are taking the sum, yes or no? Correct? Always remember, guys, when you take a large number modulus another large number, it gives you as a result a very small number. Yes or no? When you take a very large number modulus another very large number, result will be very small number. Take an example. If I tell you 1000 modulus triple nine, quickly tell me the answer. 1000 modulus triple nine. Quickly tell me the answer. Everybody has simple mathematics. What is the remainder if you divide 1000 by triple nine? What is the remainder? Everybody. Correct. The remainder will be what? 1. That's what I said. A large number, if you take a modulus with another large number, output will be very, very small number, right? This is what we say. Integer range is what? Integer occupies minus 2 raised to the power 31 to 2 raised to the power 31. Integer occupies 4 bytes of data. 4 bytes is what? 4 bytes is 32 bits. 32 bits. That's why the range is minus 2 raised to the power 31 to 2 raised to the power 31 minus 1. This number is roughly minus 2 billion to 2 billion, just to give you an idea. Minus 2 billion to 2 billion. The problem is here what you are doing is you are doing the sum of very two large values. If you try to add, let's say 2 billion plus 2 billion, it will go 4 billion. It will go beyond the range of integer. So that will create what? That will create overflow, integer overflow. It will cross that limit. Just to avoid the overflow, what we do is we take the answer modulo. Just to avoid the overflow, we take the answer modulo. And I'm giving you another mantra, guys. One mantra I've given there, one other mantra I'm giving. In any question where you're taking sum and product, always think about overflow. Always think about overflow. Same with Python. Any language, C++, Java, Python, same everywhere. Okay. Whenever you're trying to take sum and product, always think about overflow. One way could be you can convert integer to long. That's one way. Second way could be you can directly get the modulus. So it will be always in the range. Is everybody clear why this modulo being asked? There's always a reason, guys. Nothing in programming happens as the way it is. There's always a reason. Give me yes if everybody clear. Give me yes if everybody clear. If you take the modulus, it will not create integer overflow. Cool. Now we can solve it and we can see the production ready code. Okay, guys, give me yes if it is visible, if my screen is visible. Cool. What I'm given in the question is max steps and integer n. And this code I have to write. Okay, let's understand one by one. I am solving using DP. Why? Because time complexity is O(n). This has to pass all test cases. I created DP of n plus 1. To reach 0 step, I need 0 ways. To reach at first step, I had only one way using one flow. To reach at second stair, I have two steps. Either I can use the one stair twice, 1 plus 1 is 2, or I can use the two stairs only once. Output 2. Then from 3 till L, what I'm doing is dp of I is what? I minus 1 plus I minus 2. Either you can go from by taking one step or one stair, or you can go from taking two stairs. And this is I'm using modulus. Why? To avoid the overflow. And then I read dp of n. What is dp of n? Nth stair to reach using one or two steps. Time complexity of this code, guys, quickly tell me. Time complexity of this code, quickly tell me. Okay, you guys have read it. Hey guys, don't do cheating. Don't read it from there. No. This is a DP based solution, not a recursion one. Recursion one is 2 raised to the power n. See, here nothing is consumed. O1, 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 O1. This is where the loop comes. This is what causes the time complexity to be big of n. Okay. All of this before that is big of 1, nothing else. And this will return is big of 1. Correct? Space complexity, I'm using extra space here. So space complexity is big of n here. And time complexity is big of n here. Let's see, let's verify for our code. For fourth, I get the output as 5, which is correct. For fourth, the output will be 5. See here, 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5. Answer is correct. If we submit it, let's see if it will pass all test cases. It passed all test cases. Correct? O and time, it will pass all test cases. It will not create any overflow. Okay? Cool. Let's revise the questions, guys. Let's revise our today's class that we have done. A very interesting topic we have covered today. Let's revise it all. Give me yes if the question was clear to everybody. Give me yes if the question was clear to everybody. Cool, we have seen the code too. Okay, let's revise today's session. We started with dynamic programming. This rating I will cover at the end. We first understood 3 things which are required to be a master in NADS or algo. Okay, we talk about what is DP. It's nothing an optimization of a recursion just by storing the results. Why do we do it? To reduce the time complexity from exponential time to the polynomial time. This session will be recorded, guys. Don't worry. Don't worry about the notes and all. And that's what I mentioned starting. Don't worry about this as a note I will be give you. Focus Just be 100% here. If you understand it, you don't need the notes. Okay. And this session will be recorded as well, so it will be available on YouTube. Don't worry. I explained it using the example of Fibonacci series. Then I told you about tree diagram, and example I have given is for a Diwali gift for Son Papdi example. It's something relevant or something that you can relate to quickly, right? I told you a smart worker versus hard worker approach. Recursion is the hard worker, DP is the smart worker, correct? And most of are able to relate it. Knapsack problem I will explain. In our course, we explain each and everything, don't worry, right? I wrote you the code for Fibonacci and DP, told you the difference between how large the difference is 2 raised to the power n and big of n. There we started. This is the crux, guys. I'm again focusing here. Solve any DP question in the world, you need only 4 steps. Identify whether it's a DP question. It will should not take more than 5 seconds. Look for the keywords. Focus on the fish of the eye, not on. No, focus on the eye of the fish, not on the complete fish. Okay, be an Arjun. Second step, decide a state expression. What is that state of K telling me? Third, how does my current result relates to the previous results? And last is optimization for higher order DP. Okay. Then we talked for these solutions. We solved an Amazon question which was asked for ST1 role in off campus. Okay. We solved it. We solved it using 10 to the power 9 plus 7. I also told you why this is required 10 to the power 9 plus 7 to avoid the integer overflow. Cool. Everything is done. We have coded it. We have passed on this platform. All test cases passed. Coming back to the first question, guys, I asked you at the starting. Honestly, rate yourself. How much will you rate at the end of class? How much comfortable you feel with now with DP? 1 to 10, I want everybody to rate yourself. Okay, 10, 7, 8, 9, 9, 9, 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 10, 7, 9, old plus equal to 7. Okay, 7, 6, 9, 9, 8, 8, 9, 7, 10. Cool, guys. Cool. Most of you, what we have reached to the target is roughly to between 8 to 9. Some of you are 7, so we can say 7 to 9 as well. So 8 to 9 or 7 to 9, I will rate. I would say pretty much I have been able to do it. Again, to get to the 10, you must solve more and more questions for 2D DP, 3D DP, and higher DPs. Then you will get more comfortable once you reach more questions. Last question, guys. How will you rate me as a teacher? 1 to 10. Quickly tell me. How will you rate me as a teacher? 1 to 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 9, 9, 10, 10, 10,000. Okay. Only 1 to 10, guys. 9, 9, 8.5, 9.
You're 11 by 10 as well, Devang. Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. That tells your state of mind. 10 raised to the power of 10.
Yes, there's always a scope of improvement. And if we can analyze more things to make you better understand, maybe some visuals or something, we'll definitely do it. As a non-institute student, is helpful for me. Thank you. Thanks, Jayashree. That means a lot. That's for my session, guys. I hope this session is useful and same will be uploaded on YouTube. So after wrapping up this class, I have actually another meeting to run for. So I will hand over to Vasu. Vasu is the right person to continue for. Thanks everybody for joining in. Over to you, Vasu.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll just take 2 more minutes. And firstly, of that, the first 1 minute, I would like to say, Devang, this is one of the nicest, the coolest classes of dynamic programming ever. I'm sure a lot of students would have seen dynamic programming on YouTube or any other sources. They try to overcomplicate it for some reason. They try to scare off by trying it's very, very complicated. And what a way to explain, what a way the Son Papdi example, going from one floor to another. It's wonderful. So we see a lot of wonderful comments coming in. So firstly, a big thank you for being just not intellectually a great trainer, but the passion and the love which you have both for the subjects and the topics as well as the students comes up so broadly and so rightly. So thank you so much. And all I want to leave the students with is, if you're able to see my screen, Devang, are you able to see the screen which I'm showing up?
Yes, Vasu, it's visible.
Yeah. All I'm going to share with you in the next 60 seconds is this. So what Devang has told, and what Devang and his good friend Anik, who's the co-founder of Edist, are going to do is they're going to run a program which is going to cover many such topics. And what you've seen is just a trailer. And all you need to do is go to edist.com, go to placement preparations, and the first program is this, Algos and Data Structures Bootcamp. And we are going to start it on the 9th of October. So, and it's going to be a very, very limited number of people, while we'll see a lot of people coming and wanting to do these things, but we want to restrict it to 50 so that we can have the quality of conversation, the kind of conversations Devang had with you people. That's the kind of conversations we're going to have. We're going to have a lot of classes. We're going to have a lot of recordings of this video. And the most important thing is, when you come to this platform and practice, you will have live trainers like Devang come and do the magic which he has done. And a lot of people are asking, sir, what else will you cover? What you see is what you get covered. We're going to start off with time complexity arrays and the liftoff phase. It's going to go all the way to Boost, where you're going to learn about stacks, queues, maps, sets, heaps, and trees. And in Orbit 3, that's where the rubber hits the road, as we call it, or we say that this is where the most important topics, backtracking, greedy algorithms, graphs, and dynamic programmings, and trace and segment trees, and previously asked questions in a lot of product companies are going to be covered in this. So if you're interested, and if you want to even know more about it, all you can do is click here, try a free module, and all you will have to do, you don't even have to pay a rupee, just come and look at the kind of questions which are there in the practice module. So there are going to be a few questions which will give you a kind of the hint about what kind of a course this is. And while you're practicing, let's say this is a real question which came in Amazon, and you're stuck with it and so on and so forth. All you have to do is come here and ask the mentor from 9 in the morning till 9 in the evening. There'll always be a mentor who's going to be assigned to you. And once this batch starts up, you'll start finding a mentor from 9 in the morning till 9 in the evening. So with that, all I will request you to do is that if you're really serious about your career, if you're really serious about that you want to get into this top tier dream companies like Devang, you have to have a structured program, and this is what the structured program is all going to be about. So with that, I will leave you to make the right decision about your own career, to make sure that you're learning from the best people. You're not just learning from the best people, learning in a way so that it gives you a lot of confidence in a very, very short time to pick up those tricks and trips to get into these product companies. With that, I will leave you to make the right decisions. Please discuss it with your seniors or other people who got into product-based companies. Make sure that you have access, get access to this free module by coming on to edis.com and try this out. And if you have any questions, please write to us at team@edis.com. It's team@edis.com, and we'll be more than happy to have one of the student counselors speak to you. With that, Devang, thank you very, very much. And all the students, you take care of your loved ones, stay very, very safe, and happy coding. Take care and good night. Good night, Devang. Thanks a lot.
Bye all. Have a good night.